I only know this much, nothing more, Harper said nervously. Dustin stared at Harper for a few seconds, making sure she wasn't lying. Okay, based on the information you've given, I won't hold today's events against you. But in the future, you both better behave. If you try any more sneaky stuff, don't blame me for cutting ties. Harper nodded earnestly, though a hint of resentment flashed in her eyes. Ms. Cameron, Dustin walked over to Lana's car now that the score was settled. I appreciate your help today, but I'll have to ask for a ride. It's getting late, and finding a cab won't be easy. No problem, Lana replied with a charming smile. She patted the seat next to her. Come on, handsome, join me in the passenger seat. And by the way, you looked pretty fierce, scolding that bitch just now. I liked it. How about spending the night at my place? My bed is big and soft. I guarantee you won't want to leave. Dustin suddenly felt like he was walking into the lion's den. The following morning, Dustin was in a cozy, secluded villa. He sat on the bed with his legs crossed, focused on his training. When the sun rose, he slowly opened his eyes. His martial arts cultivation was ascending at a breathtaking pace. He didn't need to work hard and train, empowered by the Celestial Pearl. The Celestial Pearl automatically helped him to absorb spiritual energy, constantly improving his powers. The better his natural talents, the more powerful the Celestial Pearl's effects. In less than a month, Dustin was close to becoming an ultimate Grandmaster. He could break through to the next level anytime. Still, he chose to be patient and focus on building a solid foundation. After all, he had half a year left before his decisive year-long agreement with Nesta ended. Suddenly, his phone rang, and he retrieved it from beneath his pillow. Brooke's voice on the other end sounded urgent. Hey Dustin, I've run into some trouble. I need your help. Dustin asked in concern. Is Mr. Schaffer in trouble? No, it's not about Mr. Schaffer, Brooke clarified. It's about Mr. Welsh Sr. Yesterday, he fell seriously ill out of the blue. The Welsh family called in all the top doctors in South City, including me. We tried everything, but we can't figure out what's wrong. Dustin was surprised. What kind of mysterious illness could stump you? To Dustin, Brooke should be able to handle complex illnesses. After all, Brooke could keep Sinner alive for the past decade. I suspect it might be some kind of witchcraft, but I'm unsure. It definitely doesn't look like any ordinary illness, Brooke whispered. Witchcraft? Are you sure? Dustin arched an eyebrow. I'm not entirely sure, it's just a hunch. Given your expertise in the occult, I thought you could come and take a look. You mentioned needing dragon painax from the Welsh family, right? If you can cure Mr. Welsh Sr., getting the other herbs should be a breeze. All right, I'm on my way. Dustin kept his response short and ended the call. Though he had secured dragon painax, he still needed the Iceheart Lotus and Emerald Corolla. Dustin realized that saving Welsh Sr.'s life wasn't just necessary for obtaining the herb he needed. It was also crucial for his long-term plans. If he allied with the Welsh family, it could give him a strong foothold in Oakvale and help him achieve his goal. Inside the Welsh residence, Welsh Sr. lay on a bed, his appearance pale and frail. His lips were stained with blood. Thick ropes were tied tightly around him to restrain him during his hysteria. A group of doctors stood near the door, hesitant to get too close to Welsh Sr. Just half an hour ago, Welsh Sr. had undergone a startling transformation. He had displayed an unnatural burst of strength, injuring 2 bodyguards and biting off their ears before eating it. His behavior was terrifying, leaving those who saw it deeply unsettled. After a brief pause, Brooke cautiously approached the bed to check Welsh Sr.'s condition. He sighed in relief before swiftly exiting the room. Dr. Bush, how is my father? Is he okay? Alistair Welsh, the eldest son of the Welsh family, asked. His wife, Joanne, his daughter, Eleanor, and several members of the Welsh family looked at Brooke in expectation. Mr. Welsh Sr. seems stable for now, but this bizarre sickness has us scratching our heads. I'm sorry to admit, I can't help much, Brooke sighed. Alistair implored, Dr. Bush, you're one of the best doctors in South City. Please find a way to heal my dad, and don't worry about expenses. We will do whatever it takes to get him back on his feet. Mr. Welsh, Brooke replied gravely. The symptoms your father is displaying don't seem like an illness to me. It looks like he's bewitched. Bewitched. The word left the Welsh family members bewildered. Hearing this from a doctor sounded absurd. Dr. Bush, what do you mean by that? Please explain. Alistair probed. Brooke clarified, when I say bewitched, I'm referring to practices like witchcraft, sorcery, dark spells, and the like. My knowledge in these areas is limited. I mainly read about it from books, so it's just a guess. You mean something like voodoo and dark spells? Alistair furrowed his brow. He wouldn't believe this from just anyone, but Brooke's reputation spoke for itself. After all, Alistair had heard of such things before. Eleanor, her eyes red and teary, interrupted, Dr. Bush, you're a medical genius. There's gotta be something you can do for Grandpa, right? I might be a medical expert, Brooke admitted, shaking his head. But this is way out of my league. Medicine and black magic are different fields. But what can we do? Grandpa is getting weaker by the day, and his life is in danger, Eleanor sobbed. I know someone knowledgeable in this area, Brooke suddenly offered. Who is it? Alistair perked up. It's Dash. Of course, it's me. A booming voice interrupted Brooke. Everyone turned to see the charismatic Ezra, accompanied by a mysterious figure in black, walking confidently toward them. Hello, Uncle Alistair, Aunt Joanne. Ezra greeted the Welsh family elders politely. Ezra, what are you doing here? You're not welcome here. Eleanor's face hardened, clearly displeased. After hearing about Mr. Welsh Sr.'s strange sickness, I brought in a specialist, he replied confidently, ignoring her hostility. Me. Who asked for your help? You're putting your nose where it shouldn't be, she huffed and turned away. Eleanor, mind your manners, Alistair scolded his daughter. Then, he turned back to Ezra, relief in his tone. Ezra, you mean well, but my dad's condition is not something a doctor can cure. Uncle Alistair, the person I've brought is not a doctor but a gifted individual. Ezra smiled and gestured to the black-clad figure beside him. Let me introduce you to Sir Crane, renowned in the martial world for his expertise in mystical and occult arts. He can easily tackle any mysterious sickness. Oh, really? Alistair's spirits lifted. If you doubt it, Uncle Alistair, let Sir Crane show you, Ezra suggested. Theodore quickly understood and took out a paper crane from his pocket, presenting it to the group. He muttered an incantation and tapped the paper crane. Fly. As the word left his mouth, a miraculous scene unfolded before them. The paper crane in his hand seemed to come to life. Its wings flapped, and it flew in the air. It was like a movie scene as the crane circled above their heads, performing 3 graceful loops. Finally, it fluttered its wings and landed safely in Theodore's palm. It left everyone in awe and speechless. Wow, that's amazing. He could make the paper crane fly? Is this the occult expert they were talking about? This is truly impressive. The display by Theodore left the Welsh family in awe. They'd only heard about such things in stories but had never seen them in real life. What do you think? Now, do you believe in Sir Crane's abilities? Ezra said proudly. Wow, that's what you call a true master, Alistair exclaimed with a newfound respect. He thought, if Dad is truly under some sort of spell, then only someone with extraordinary abilities could cure him. But it's just a simple trick, really, nothing much, Theodore remarked casually, appearing humble. The crane trick we just saw is just a small part of his skills. Sir Crane has more in store for us. Let's eagerly await the next performance, Ezra added. That's great. Alistair nodded with a smile. Eleanor, you don't need to worry. With Sir Crane here, Grandpa will be fine. Ezra smiled smugly, but Eleanor responded dismissively with a huff and averted her gaze. Ezra looked embarrassed for a second but quickly covered it up. Instead, he looked at Brooke and said nonchalantly, Dr. Bush, I heard you mention that you know another occult expert. Is this person possibly more skilled than Sir Crane?